This is the Apparelist podcast, designed to bring you real-life conversation about high-level topics relevant to the decorated apparel community.
All right, everybody. Well, it is that time. We have a brand new episode of the Apparelist podcast. It is 2026. And for all of you who are huge fans of the show, you're going to love this episode because our favorite group, the OGs of DTG, are back. But we have something new for you this episode because they have, let's see, what are y'all referring to your newest member of your group? Well, what's the name? What are we calling the newest member of your group before we introduce him?
Baby OG.
The baby OG. We
have
a baby
that.
OG.
That's not bad.
All right. Well, joining us this month, as I said, the OGs of DTG, and I love to let them introduce themselves. So let's actually start with the baby OG, the newest member of the group. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people who we're meeting today.
What's going on, guys? Sevan Romero here with All American Print Supply. Been in the game, gosh, this number gets bigger every time I say it, but I think I'm knocking on 17 years. Learned screen print in the backyard with friends. That turned into a full-time gig. That got me into the automation printing, more into sales. And then I was a technician over at Heat Press Nation for a number of years. Learned the YouTube stuff. Go check out Print Supply Co. on YouTube.com for all your DTG tips and tricks. And that's where we are now. Senior brand marketing lead and baby OG amongst the OGs of DTG. So I want to thank everybody so much for having me on. And it's an honor to be here.
Before I let everybody else introduce themselves, you do know what you said yes to, right? Like, I just want to make sure you know what you said yes to. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. Welcome
right,
to the
nodding.
Thunderdome, baby.
Yep. Now he's going to get clowned on now.
No, we'll make sure Tony doesn't do anything.
All right. Well, let's have everybody else. I don't know that many introductions are needed, but just in case for anyone who's listening to this group speak for the first time, Deanna, let's start with you if you want to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hey, I'm Deanna Uribe from the Print Bakery and Printer Biz.
All right. Eric, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Eric Deem. I'm with Millcraft.
All right. Gerald?
I'm Gerald, and I'm with Breakthrough Clothing.
Excellent. Dean?
Dean Biskin with Fully Promoted in Canton, Ohio.
Love it. And last but not least, Anthony.
Anthony Creek with Creek Manufacturing.
Excellent. Well, welcome back to the show, guys. Few housekeeping notes for all of our listeners. You can listen to this episode at apparelist.com. We're also on all of the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen, you can find us. Today, guys, I want to talk a lot about what we're seeing in the industry when it comes to digital printing, but more specifically, we're going to be really looking at like automation, efficiency, identifying bottlenecks in the production process. So to kick things off, I'm going to throw this question to start to our newest member, Esteban, and I would like you to talk a little bit about, we're seeing a lot of automation efficiency. It's all the rage, right? Everybody's trying to be faster. Everyone's trying to do better, all of these good things. But why can that be a challenge when it comes to the digital printing workflow? I mean, what are you seeing as like the hangups that people are facing?
Well, when it comes to digital printing, there are so many micro steps, right? Whether this is artwork preparation, ripping, pre-print, the actual production, and then depending what we're going into, this can involve pre-treating, curing, and then application or drying. So it's not really a one cohesive ecosystem, right? We're utilizing different programs, we're using different pieces of equipment, and then even throwing in the human variability aspect of things, such as placement, loading garments, pre-treating, which is a full-on science. I don't need to tell this group that, but the powdering, the curing. So I'd say just all those micro steps that make up the process that gives us a final product. There's a lot of variables there. So I think stabilizing those, systemizing those, making things repeatable, that's really the key to being efficient, addressing those bottlenecks.
Yeah, Deanna, as someone who kind of operates on both sides, I mean, you operate on the manufacturer and supplier side, but you also have your own printing business, right? Like, what are you seeing from both ends as kind of the biggest bottlenecks or biggest challenges?
It's never actually the printer itself because you can always add more equipment, but it doesn't matter how slow or fast your printer is. It's all the pre-production or post-production. So mainly it would also, the pre-treating and design element is one bottleneck. It'd also be the inventory. I see me and Anthony's friend Benjamin, he has like this great automation workflow group that's been happening. Everybody's trying to, use QR codes or, scanning to help, the larger shops, get through that bottleneck hump. And also it's gonna be the heat press. When we sell printers, just say one heat press is fine. But in actuality, you really need to be like fully like going all the time if you want it to be so efficient. But not everybody has the space for it. No one has a space for a tunnel dryer either, but also tunnel dryers can also be a bottleneck because if you start with the starting one that's smaller compared to a larger one, you're still bottlenecking there. So it's gonna be actually like, all the pre and post equipment to me rather than like the equipment itself causing the bottleneck.
Yeah. What else? Anthony, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, like Esteban said, there's a lot of variables, and having consistent quality stuff to use, like inks, powder, film, is critical. Or even DTG, pre-treatment, and the same ink set. Labor, like, he had touched on, the person applying those has to have an eye for like a left chest piece, like if it's a long text logo versus something circular. It's the placement's not going to be the same because you could have a long text logo kind of if the person doesn't place it right, almost going into the underarm. So, there's a lot of variables. Not everything is a one size fits all, you know? So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and Deanna's right, it doesn't matter on how many printers you've got or what kind of system you've got, whether it's a full setup or multiple printers. You can get things done pretty quick as long as everything's prepared according to your printer, So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of little things like that, and labor in the machines play a huge role.
And with all you guys saying that, as being like a print shop, a big factor is like having the right tools there, right? So yeah, we need the printers there, right? And then you have the software, but we all know there's multiple software. Are you using the OEM that came with Brother or Epson? Are you using CADLink? Are you using Cathari? Whatever you're using. And, are you heat pressing? Do you have like guides there? Do you have rulers? Do you have like, you could drop this down and no matter who is working on that heat press, they know it goes down 3 inches and 2 over to the left or whatever it may be. So a big thing for me that I've always tried to work at since I started as like, a real small shop, just like out of my house, out of my bedroom, is how can I get the most amount of equipment where it's the most efficient setup, right? People don't always think they just put a machine here, throw a heat press across the way, put a computer there. But all in all, if for me, it was like a horseshoe. Anything I made back in the day with my DTG machines, it was always a horseshoe so that I could take the shirts off the machine. I had a table to put them down, had my computer to the left, and I was able just to work there, take less steps and move it around. So when I think of like bottlenecks and the business, the first part is like machine placement. Where does everything go? So I don't have me or a worker have to walk an extra 20 steps every 5 minutes after a print. And then do I have all the tools that I need right there? Do I have my laser gun for the heat press? Do I have a lint roller, so they don't have to walk across the way if a shirt got, my dog's, Sophie's hair all over it before I give it to a customer or something. So, having those tools and setting up your environment, properly and like we've always said, it's not a one size fits all because everybody's, are you doing it out of your house, your garage? Do you have a shop, a warehouse, retail front? Everybody's place is a little bit different, but it's always good to, take a weekend and be like, hey, if I moved machines over here, if I put this here and had this flow, could I work faster? Could I save time? Because in, the print on demand world, time is money, right? Like you're only going to make so much per shirt. So if you can get more done faster, it's going to be better. So I encourage people to look at their setup, look at their space that they have and see if there is a more efficient way where they can get done quicker and there's less downtime in between, doing, prints. If you have a slow printing machine, have a table next to you so you can fold the shirts, have your label machine there so you can print your labels and package that shirt before the next one's done. And now you got that process, completed. So that's kind of one thing that I look at when I think of bottlenecks in the print on demand.
I think Gerald hit it on the head. Equipment, who cares? It doesn't really matter. It's more about workflow. Workflow is crucial for efficiency and the bottleneck. I can't tell you how many shops I've been in where the equipment was not positioned in a way that made the most efficiency out of the entire workflow. And it wasn't a matter of the machines wasn't fast enough to keep up with their capacity. It was they just didn't know how to set it up properly. So that's a big thing with when you're buying equipment. And especially it doesn't matter who you buy, what you buy. If they offer on-site installation and training, and they can come physically see your shop, and if they are a technician that's worth a damn, they're going to see where you need to be placing things. They're going to rearrange your shop to make it more efficient. It happens every day. We do site visits on purpose, specifically to see exactly where this machinery is going to live, to make sure we don't have vents on it. We don't have light coming in that's going to cause us issues with the print heads. We don't have static issues because we're on carpet. All of those things have to be taken into consideration when you're building out the actual production shop. It's not just, I bought a printer, I'm going to hit print. That's Sophie could do that. And we could train her to do that. Deanna can do it even. So, of course, Sophie can.
Hey.
We had to throw somebody under the bus eventually, right?
I know. It's okay. I was really mean to Eric and he also talked to me.
So, everybody I think had really excellent points, everything that we've experienced. But one thing I could add is the fact, don't do too much in the rip. Like, allow the program to do what it's designed for. Don't try to do like your edits and too much tweaking in there. Do proper file prep first and have your rip set up to where it's standardized on, converting for what you're printing on, not like doing all these color tweaks and all that crazy stuff. If you set some time up to set your rip up properly, you should be able to do all your artwork in your design program, throw it into your rip, select your profile, and go. And each job should be good. You can do minor tweaks, but I find people try to do too much in a rip that it's not really what it's designed for. So fixing it before you get to the rip is going to speed things up too.
Well, and I think also, Dean, to your point, is as from a bottleneck standpoint, is as we become more and more tenured press people, printers, this is a skilled trade. And as we become better and better at it, we also start to find more and more flaws. And when we start getting into a bottleneck of chasing the rabbit down the hole of perfection, and there is no such thing as a perfect print. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many awards you've won. I don't care how many belts you have. I don't care how many, accolades. I will find flaws in prints on everything. We all will. Okay. And that's he's my homie, so I can do it. I think he's talking about somebody on the call right now. I don't know anybody.
Gerald, where's the belt at, buddy? Yeah. Where's the belt at?
I got it right above my desk where it's been the last 10 years.
Eric woke me up better than my coffee did.
And if I could piggyback a little bit off of what Dean was saying, as far as not overworking the rip. When we have these first-time customers, people who are just getting into the business, as far as digital printing, we get the question time, can I knock out color backgrounds? Can I change this? Can I do that? And I always try to stress, as complete of a file as you can bring into the program, let the rip just do the rip. We've worked with, Digital Factory and Garment Crate and all that good stuff. You have simple controls in there, but it's never going to match what you can do with a true graphic designer or graphic design software. So I couldn't stress that enough as far as let the rip do the rip, let the printer do the printing, and bring in file-ready stuff. And I think that can be a bottleneck in itself right there. If that's an extra step that we have to take on as the actual print operators for a customer, if the file resolution is too low or colors just aren't going to match, or they're not half-toning a DTF gradient that's just going to look like a white fuzzy mess. So yeah, let the rip do the rip and bring in print-ready designs to the process.
Yeah, actually, that's something I kind of wanted to talk more about. Is I think a lot of times, like when I think of, evaluating for production bottlenecks and things like that, I think of the actual production process. But what you just brought up is really interesting, is you have to have the right conversations right out of the gate, right? Like it is so important to have the right conversations with your customer and helping them understand before you even get to that process through the sales. Because I would imagine that's where a lot of the problems can originate from.
Well, you got people who want one machine that can do everything too. I want it to be able to make shirts and hats and stitch and sublimate. What do you mean it doesn't do all that?
And
we've
you
all
got to
experienced that too. Can your
too.
shop do X, Y, Z? No, we do. We don't. We only do certain things. And sometimes when you get into a situation with bottleneck again, is we have some shops that we've worked with that knew nothing. But they got a grant, they got some money, they got an investor, what have you, and then they jumped in and bought embroidery, they bought EcoSolvent, they bought DTF, they bought DTG, and they didn't even know how to spell RIP, let alone were they able to run Photoshop or build the artwork and prepare properly for this, and it starts becoming a huge snowball of unsuccess, and it's. Pick a product, something that you want to sell. This goes back to what we've talked about in previous conversations with like the blank selection. If you want to sell a specific color of a shirt, you better bring in 4 or 5 of every single brand that sells that color shirt and do your testing before you just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to offer olive green shirts today. You can't just do that. And you need to research what equipment and what's your goal on the hardware side of things too. That way you don't buy something that you didn't actually need. The UV DTF printers, they're really cool, but they're a one-trick pony. They only make stickers. So if that's okay with you, cool. But a lot of people buy that not understanding that it's only going to do just that. So, Anthony.
Yeah,
I love that saying. That's golden. I just love
the one
it,
trick pony.
Yeah.
It's an old school Midwest. It's from the Indianapolis,
I love it, dude.
Well, this goes back to actually Deanna conversation. So Deanna was part of a project that I did with ASI, and she graciously did some prints for us. But in the exploratory phone call, she asked a lot of questions. Deanna, I mean, I would imagine like you have a lot of those similar questions for your customers, and that's how you walk through the process to avoid issues during actual production. You probably ask a lot of the same questions that you asked us. Like what's the garment we're working with, what color, all those things.
Right. It's also because if you offer both DTG and DTF, it helps kind of like streamline you into like the right street, I guess, to walk down. When we're doing the production side, just because like if you already know like their graphic has a feathered edge and they want to keep it a feathered edge and not half tone it, and you would have to go to the DTG route. But if they want it on a 50-50 sweatshirt, then we're going to have to go back and reconsider half toning it to do for DTF because like with Joe, it'll be different because he has like a tunnel dryer that he has the space for it and use for his business where he can possibly get a good 50-50 guild and sweater, done right with whiting. But in my case, with the heat press, it's not going to happen. So I would have to, make that choice and pivot to direct the film for that. Mm-hmm. But it helps streamline it better because, if you cut the nip, what's the saying? If you nip the bud, am I saying it right?
Nip it in the bud?
Nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud in the very beginning, then you don't have to worry about it later. Yes, there you go.
Women in Print Alliance is dedicated to connecting, empowering, and advancing women in the print industry. As part of Printing United Alliance, we're fostering a more inclusive future through advocacy, education, and networking opportunities that connect women across the entire industry. Join us as an individual to grow your career, expand your network, and access exclusive resources, or enroll your entire organization to show your commitment to supporting women in print. Become a member today at womeninprintalliance.org and help us shape the future of print.
And I think that's where like it comes down to like, you know, having the right setup and tools. Like I know like from experience, but for new people, like if they take notes and have a sheet, have an Excel, have something, you know, because I guess I'm talking to more of small shops, because bigger shops will have, you know, their own custom software and then, you know, scan the print and all that. So they'll have all their profiles done and they'll have exactly what you can print on what shirts. But as for smaller shirts, companies that are loading the graphics, you know, if they have like a cheat sheet where it's like, okay, if it's any one of these shirts, it's only DTF. If it's any one of these shirts, it could be either one, because, you know, DTF can do all of them. But we know that, like, let's say 100% cotton, you'll get the better print on the DTG. But if they have a cheat sheet and says, okay, this shirt came in, we can only do DTF. So right away, we know, as like Deanna said, that the artwork can't like look like this. We can't have this type of fade. We can't have this smoke effect because it just won't look good. And knowing just, you know, for me, I use CADLink sometimes. So we have a bunch of profiles set up. I have tri-blend set up for light and darks. I have CVC for light and darks, cotton, hoodies. You know, we have a bunch of different, you know, profiles, so that, as Dean was speaking before, like not to waste time having to do like profiles. Cause yeah, I'm a little bit, you know, picky when my stuff prints out for my customers. I want it to look a certain way. And I'll spend, you know, an hour to print like 5 shirts because I want it to be perfect for them. So I was like, hey, I need to spend a weekend and just do this profiling, just create all this stuff so that I can say, okay, here's this graphic. It's on a dark colored CVC. Boom, we load it. Everything's good. It saves a lot of time. But I think a lot of small shops owners, they don't necessarily do that. And they just try to do one profile for everything, which is not good. But also, as Esteban said, you know, garbage in, garbage out, or quality in, quality out. Like it's all on the Photoshop side or Adobe side. But just, I guess what I'm just trying to say is create some layouts, create some notes so that, you know, specific blanks just go to specific print setups, and it will save like a lot of time. Plus, right off the bat, you can say to your customer, hey, I know you created the graphic like this, but because of the color garment and the style of garment you chose, there's only 2 printing methods. We got screen print and DTF. If you want screen print, you need to order at least, you know, whatever, 2436. With DTF, we're going to have to change your artwork a little bit. Or you can choose a different garment and we can print it exactly the way you have it. That's literally like the exact wording I use for some of my customers when they provide something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't print this 100% black polyester with this, you know, lighter flame torch on the front and smoke coming off of it. So yeah, that's it.
But we do kind of have a starting tutorial article for it. So thanks a lot, guys, for reading the stuff that I write for Cassie. We have a how to pivot DTG to DTF article on the Apparelist. Everybody go check it out.
Thanks for
Every
the plug.
time I do a training or whatever, I give everybody a matrix, essentially just a chart, right, that shows these are the different shirts. These are the colors, you know, white, black, royal blue, navy blue. Those colors outsell all their colors combined. You better make sure you get those dialed in and then start bringing other ones in. When I was at Scalable Press, I actually printed, if every single color of every single brand of shirt we sold, I would print. And I actually had an entire warehouse full of thousands of shirts, so that then if, let's just say, a specific color would, like the dial out would change, which happens in our world all the time. Things happen in the manufacturing side and it screws us on the production side because the shirt looks exactly the same, but something has changed on the chemical side of the softening or the dyeing, and it will react to the pre-treatment differently. It used to be way worse than it is now, but it's much better. But I would have thousands of shirts, and then if we had defects come back from customers, I would be able to go out, grab that particular Tahitian blue, Bella 3001, whatever it was, and be like, no, it printed okay for us. What changed? And I was able to validate from an actual running it through our production. But keeping your limit, I mean, the best, and we've said this a trillion times, the best restaurants in the world have the smallest menus, and there is a reason for it. If you start trying to offer the entire Sanmar and now SNS Alpha Broder TSC catalog, you're going to fail.
I want to add to something that you were just mentioning on your last roundabout, Eric. I think it's really important to stress that to customers, not just with their blanks, but I think if they're a startup brand or looking to get into this business and offer their own work, not trying to be everything to everyone. So if that's a niche as far as your target audience, if it's the church group or the music industry or the sports community, the auto people, and same thing, just like you said with those blank garments, I say focus on one line, one collection, one pieces, and get those down to a T. Make that a systemized, repeatable, consistent process, and then extrapolate out from there. You don't want to offer every garment or take on every job. And if you do, then like you guys have already been saying, you better make sure you have backups on backups so you can test, drill those settings in, and systemize it. So, couldn't agree more with what he was saying earlier.
Dean, Anthony, anything to add?
No, they're absolutely right. I mean, Dean knows the game. I know the game with pre-treatment. One batch of shirts can stain, and it'll be the same brand and model, and the next batch is completely different. And that can go with anything. So yeah, I mean, everybody had really good valid points. I've seen it too, where customers are like, "Oh, this didn't stain before," and all of a sudden it's stained. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And then we look at things and where they're coming from, whether it, and sometimes it's multiple sources. So I mean, at that point, we just don't know what we can do. It's just the luck of the draw. And I always tell people, look, when I was printing, I stuck to just a couple colors, black and navy and your whites. You don't need to be a print god and print on every freaking color. Yes, some of us can do it, or everybody in this group could, but do we need to? No, we really don't. We don't need to be a master of all colors.
What I think, I'm going to say one thing, then before Dean, I don't want to get out of my head. I apologize. One thing that I think that we forget as apparel decorators compared to the other print practices out there, commercial print, wide format, we are contending with the substrate we're printing on also. They're printing on 20-pound copy paper. They're printing on Coro. They're printing on foam board. The variables aren't nearly as high as what we are. So we're trying to not only match certain colors on certain brands with certain substrates, that changes. So the road, it's a moving target the entire time for digital printing. And then we have like a customer that has 3 or 4 DTF printers. Side by side, they print different. So now we're getting into like the G7 side of things, where we have to have color management across multiple hardware. And that's where this industry is starting to go to. They've been doing it in the Xerox world and the Heidelberg world forever and ever and ever. And now we're going to have to get to that point in the decorating world. But the problem is I can make the film match, but I can't always guarantee that the shirt that we're printing it on is going to work the way we want it to. And that is something that as professionals, we have to be able to, and as the people who are listening, you've got to be able to accept the fact that you are not in a black and white business. This is a very dynamically moving business, and we will always be moving. And that's what I love about it. It's not stagnant at all. The 15 years that I've known you guys, it has changed so much. Been 15 years? Not quite. Yeah. Pretty damn close.
15, yeah.
We've seen a lot change, and we still are, compared to screen print, the digital side of this business is in infancy still. We're not even close to, and we're catching up exponentially.
Yeah. And I mean, at the core of everything that we usually talk about, I mean, right now pertaining to automation and efficiency, it goes back to doing your due diligence and putting the time in to testing. As Eric just said, there's so many variables and they're always switching. Yeah, they're getting better, but there's still going to be variables. It's not standardized. So you have to put in the time to do your testing. It's why every single one of us in here has had success in this side of the industry, is because we've devoted time into setting up those matrices and doing the testing and checking out these colors and limiting our options down to what we know works, to where the end product is going to be successful and the customer will be happy. We're not just out there, throwing crap to the wind and hoping not to get hit by it. It's like, put in the time. Gerald just said he'll put in like 5 hours to get a shirt for somebody, most people out there are not doing that. They think it's a waste of time. Where in reality, if you put in the time to do your testing, you're going to save time in the long run, and your process is going to be so much quicker.
The thing is to that is you have to have a passion for what you do, and you're going to be willing to want to spend that time to do all that if you have the passion for it. You know, it does take a lot more effort and time, but if you really want to understand every variable and get really good at it, then you're going to put in the time. If not, then you're really not going to succeed in this business.
And one more thing I wanted to add, because we've been talking a lot about like production setup and things like that, is, and this is something I've been looking more into, is like software, and not just like the RIP software, but actual like workflow software. And I think in this industry, that's one part that we slightly like fail upon, because I don't like anybody's workflow software right now, or it's, as you know, a print shop owner, it's ridiculously priced. So, I think that like companies need to work better on how things are set up. I've dealt everything with Deco Network, Inksoft, Linksy, like all these different ones. And it's like all of them give you like 70% of like what you need. So you have to like find like, okay, I'm mostly going to be an Etsy setup business, so let me use like this software, or I'm going to be my own e-commerce platform. Which right now I think like Shopify is the best because so many people are making plugins to do it. So, and that right there is going to save you once you figure out which software is the best for you and handles the most, because like I said, I don't think any of them are fully perfect unless you have like your own custom engineer team to create your own. It'll still save you a bunch of time, because if you get those bunch of orders in, and then you can one click and make like, 50 shipping labels, or the way you post up on Etsy and things like that. That's one area people can also save a lot of time, is figuring out which workflow software, whether you need like, for instance, I need like scan to print. Like I enjoy that, but Inksoft, they don't have scan to print. There's no option for it. You have to use like Deco Network. But then there's other things with Deco Network that I didn't like. And then Linksy, you have to have a license for every single printer you have. And some printers I don't use, but then I'd have to pay monthly subscription. So I think that's one area that we can work with Bottlenecks in this industry. But figure out a software that like works best for you, and don't try to manually like do everything. And that'll also help with your workflow.
I think we should have a conversation about how AI is going to help you with that in the future.
They already do. I need to add you guys to me and Anthony's friends group, the print shop workflow. He created his whole automation with his brother printer with just ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Fully, yeah. So you should.
We need a whole pod. We need to do a pod on that.
It's really good.
We need to have a conversation about how Gerald pronounces Deco. So
Deco.
Or how he pronounces my name.
Or how he's
How am I supposed to say it? How am I supposed to say it?
Deco.
What do I say? Deanna?
Like Deco.
Yeah, you say Deanna.
Deanna
I
and
live
Deco.
because I know you're from New Jersey.
You should hear how
He
he says
can't
my
say
name.
the word water. So
It's water.
It's water.
It's water.
It's water.
By the way, I want to
Go
put
ahead.
out
Love you,
there
Dick.
for Bonda, if this goes well and we do a live session, you'll have to bring your toolkit because Anthony and Eric have plans for you.
Yeah, he wasn't part of
We'll
that
be ready.
conversation. Oh,
We'll
did
be
you?
ready.
You might have read. Did you read our conversation? Was that
No,
part of
he
the stream?
couldn't. He wasn't in that chat, so he doesn't know.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Well,
I'd be
good. It'll be a
surprised.
complete
Let me
secret.
know. All right, I'm ready.
Yeah,
All
bring
right.
your toolkit.
But I think Eric has to like, also do it too, because he might have forgot how to take a machine apart.
Oh,
He's on that whole sales side and everything. I don't know if he gets his hands
certified,
dirty
Brother
anymore.
certified, Epson certified.
It was
got you.
Yeah,
Eric's
but all that stuff
idea.
expires.
Anthony just piggybacked on it. So how about
Yeah,
Anthony bring the Sprint that I have at his shop right now over
Sprint, and make sure you can get it to work.
with the
Right?
R1800. You can make it work.
I used to have them.
Solder a new fuse on the board.
yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask about AI, but that is like a whole other podcast episode, so let's save it for the next one because I do
that's a
want to
good
hear
one to table.
everybody's. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to hear everybody's thoughts on that and like really go deeper into that. But for now, because we are nearing the end of this episode, I'm going to ask you all to provide just one favorite automation trick or tip that you really like that you want to leave our listeners with. We've talked about a lot of them. Maybe it's a repeat of what we've already talked about, but pick one. Deanna, we'll start with you.
for DTG, I would say get yourself a pre-treat machine
There you
because
go.
that cuts a lot of your time before. Because if you do it by hand, you'll have to do it separate. And let's say you had multiple people helping you. Let's assume it's just by yourself. You're able to do all these things nearly concurrently while you're printing because you can keep the pre-treat machine right next to your printer and kind of go in a little loop with your heat press afterward. If you do it by hand without a machine, then it adds hours or, it can add, hours to your time depending on how much workload that you have.
Mm-hmm. All right, Eric.
Yeah, I think Deanna's completely correct. That workflow cycle time is huge. I think one of the other big things, my biggest thing would be with DTG specifically. When you're working with like RIP software like CADLink, being able to create and spend the time to build out the recipe, so to speak, to where you can create custom positioning. So if we want to do a left chest print, I can go into CADLink, build out a custom layout to where no matter what I drop into that print queue is going to automatically position it, size it, scale it, rotate it, whatever I need it to do. I can make it do that on the fly, as opposed to trying to remember, okay, I need to move this down. What the customer want? They wanted it 3.5 inches down, 2.5 inches over. It's a left chest. I'm going to locate on the left chest, and I'm going to have the RIP software do that. Now, a lot of times to get it set to that, though, I've literally had to put on shirts, take out the image, cut it out on a piece of paper, tape it to the shirts, and then put the shirt back on the platen, measure where that all lands, and then build my artboard essentially within the RIP around that so that I could have repeatability so that I could index the shirt and my print location is always going to remain the same. With film, that is a whole other animal for another conversation. But with DTG, that is one of the fastest ways to streamline your production. And like Deanna said, you're having all four processes at once. It's just a 4 steps. It's pre-treat, press, print, cure. So if you have a shirt on all 4 workflow processes at once, now all of a sudden your cycle time is anywhere between 45 and 90 seconds. You have a shirt coming off of your production floor. And that's where your true production time comes into play. It's not how fast your printer is. It's how fast can you get it from A to Z.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Esteban, what do you got for your one tip?
All right, so this is the OGs of DTG group, right? So we'll keep it in theme like Eric did with direct to garment. I'm going to highlight barcode automation. I mean, if we're talking about streamlining, consolidating orders that come in at the picking process where you can have your warehouse configured. All my oranges are here. We don't print on orange here, right? My blacks, my navies, my whites are all in this order. So you can streamline the process of pulling your blank garments and you sticker tag that blank garment. And then I've seen pre-treat machines to where when you scan that barcode, your pre-treat machine knows what kind of coverage level, how much pre-treat to apply, just minimizing those micro steps we talked about in the beginning. And then same thing at the RIP software. We're going to lose time. We're going to lose seconds. Even if it is an experienced operator, going to that folder, locating that file. Wait, is that the file for the black t-shirt? Is that the one that's going to have the color knocked out? When you can just scan something and it brings in the artwork, brings in the positioning of that artwork, your print cues, your quality levels, everything's already dialed in. What was the Steve Jobs method? Why does that guy wear the same outfit every time you saw him? Minimizing those small decisions to be faster and more efficient. And then I've seen these also where even after the curing stage, it's still sticker tagged and barcode. When you get to your fulfillment center, you can scan that barcode. One, customer knows order's done. It's getting ready to go out for shipping. Here's your tracking number. It generates the shipping label for you there. So I would say the less conscious decisions that we have to make, the more we can streamline and automate these processes, especially with something that is so detail oriented like direct-to-garment printing. It's going to make life easier for the printer, print staff, customer, everybody wins.
Love it. Anthony, what you got?
From the ground up, your messages and emails, you should train your customers to go into one spot to give all the details of the order instead of 5 different social networks. And the reason is because if there's a change and they message you when you have 5 or 10 workers, that change just goes to you. So when they're in production, the change is not given to them because you might be on a plane or you might be somewhere else. So anyhow, not only that, but going through messages, you can go through paragraphs, you can go through novels, you can go through days of messages. So if you just organize things and have them train your customers to go directly to email, everything will be in one spot for you and your employees, and you'll have less mess ups. You'll save a bunch of money, and if the fault is on you, it's on you because you didn't look at your email properly. If it's on them, then it's on them. But having 5 different avenues of changing things on an order is not the best way, and you save a bunch of time because you can just look at the email right there. So I believe in firm organization from the get-go. So that's mine.
Love it. Dean, what you got for us?
So going back to a point that was made earlier, if you want to speed things up, download or create yourself a matrix and limit your options. So I can't highlight it enough. There's free matrices out there. You can make one for yourself. You basically need to know what the garment is, what color it is, and then whatever settings you use to set up, if you're doing pre-treat or if you're doing DTF or your press settings. So just having that little piece of paper by your printer is going to save you a ton of time.
Love it. All right, Gerald, do you get the last word?
All right, just to add to Dean real quick, if you do go Google search T-shirt matrix DTG, a website does pop up that has ones that I've created in the past. But as far, everybody gave great tips. Everybody gave great tips. The pre-treater, the profiles, like everything. But to add something that wasn't said, which isn't my most favorite, but have a good shipping software. It's a good feeling when I can spend 2 minutes and ship out, or print 50 labels because I have the machine printing the labels out as I'm like folding the shirts and such. So having a good shipping software that'll allow you just to, print all your packing slips and shipping labels in bulk with like 1 or 2 clicks. So you're not sitting there, because I used to spend, I'd have to do 100 labels and I'd spend an hour and a half to make the labels. And that's not what I enjoy doing with my life. I enjoy printing really cool shirts. So have a good software.
Love it. All great tips. Thanks for offering those to round out our episode. I'm really looking forward to discussing AI with all of you guys the next time we bring you on the show. But until then, we'll provide plenty of contact information in the show notes. We'll provide lots of resources, ways to get in touch with all of our fabulous guests. Just want to say thanks to all of you guys for just being part of our community and offering your insight. It's been really fun. Again, Esteban, I'm so sorry ahead of time. I'm just going to apologize on behalf of the group, but thanks for being part of it.
It's an honor and a pleasure. No apology necessary.
He got it easy this time, too.
He did.
We just didn't have time to really dog,
It's okay in Vegas. It's going to be...
Yeah.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I was gonna
Cassie.
say, you got it easy. I think I got razzed pretty hard the first time I ever did this. So, man, come on.
Yeah, you did for
Well,
sure.
having me.
Yeah, you were. You didn't know what you were getting yourself into either yet.
No, I did not. No one warned
It's
me.
Like the Motley
initiation.
crew, but we all love each other.
Yeah. They're initiation steps here to join their gang.
Yeah.
Okay.
1%.
Get jumped in Vegas.
Thank you, Cassie.
Awesome.
Jumped in Vegas.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks to all you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
And we'll see y'all in Vegas.